Miss Mulvey! What a pleasant surprise. Please, do take a seat. What can I help you with today?
Well, I'm troubled. I'm having problems sleeping. Whenever I close my eyes, all I can think about
Is what with
the gaze. What if someone is gazing at me? What if I am the gazer? My darling cinema satisfies the primordial wish for pleasurable looking. But I see it's gone further. Scopophilic. Is it pleasurable, narcissistic, dangerous? I feel like I don't know anymore.
you know why you feel this way?
That's why I came to you.
Well, I like to associate scopophilia with the taking of people as objects.
So I've heard.
Also, I very much like your jumpsuit. The concealment of your body, if I may be so crude, keeps my sexual excitement awake.
Come again?
That is what she said.
So, what has been troubling me, the gaze, is just so well represented in films. They just reflect, reveal, and, play on sexual differences, which controls images, erotic ways of looking, and the spectacle.
Sexual difference? Well, of course, women are bound by symbolic order. The patriarchy, my dear. A man can live out his wildest fantasies and obsessions by imposing them on the silent image of a woman. And often the only way to subvert the scopophilic gaze is through shame.
And it's sort of like the film, Rear Window. It's almost if this kind of paradox of phallocentrism depends on the image of a sort of castrated woman to give order and meaning to its world.
Phallocentrism. I like that word. So how was the relationship with your father?
So, what I'm trying to say is that the misogynist ideal of female characters and their lack of phallus connotates a fetishized scopophilia that doesn't have to belong to linear narratives. I don't believe that Lacan's discussion of the eye, look dialectic, which, by the way, indicates no sexual differentiation between man and woman, can be true in terms of cinema and the gender politics of the gaze.
I'm not sure why you're trying to be the maker of meaning, when really you should just be the bearer.
Moving on, I was speaking with my friend Mandy, and she spoke about the libidinal investment in the eye as a phallus.
Well, yes, there can be seen a substitutive relationship between the organ and the male gaze.
That perhaps the film world is ordered by sexual imbalance, with pleasure in looking split between the active male and passive female.
Men act, women appear.
Well, women always possess a certain to be looked atness.
I don't think that's a word, my dear.
It will be. Anyway, women's image is so constantly stolen and used for this end. They often stand as a signifier for the man and the recipient of both his and the audience's gaze. The provider of pleasurable looking, it's hard to be too regretful of the ongoing breakdown of traditional film form.
Quite. You seem somewhat assured, though. I don't see how exactly this could trouble your unconscious.
Well, I was getting to it. I was trying to give you some decent context and actual evidence. When a woman on the screen is left alone without an active male gaze, the spectator's gaze is the only active gaze. I think it is okay to enjoy a certain visual pleasure, but...
As I have said before, every active perversion is accompanied by a passive counterpart. So in a sense, I suppose, if the active perversion is absent from the screen, It must be replaced by someone.
Well, exactly. Critics have said that the movies make us into voyeurs. We sit in the dark watching other people's lives. There is a literal separation of dark and light, screen and auditorium, that promotes the illusion of a voyeuristic separation.
Well, I can't say I've ever been, to be totally honest, but...
And this is what troubles me. Should I feel guilty of peeping?
I never do.
The gaze implies more than just looking. There is an implication of a psychological relationship of power, which positions the gazer as superior to the object of the gaze. Is that not dangerous?
I need to watch some more films. They sound rather pleasant.
Well, I think you get on with Hitchcock. Who, by the way, has a very skillful, identification process and liberal use of a subjective camera from the point of view of the protagonist. This in turn draws the spectator deeply into his position, making them share his uneasy gaze. The audience is inevitably absorbed into a voyeuristic situation.
One would suggest that erotic approaches to looking can indeed lead to perversion and fixation. Maybe you should lay off the films?
No. I just need to understand, to overcome, conquer.
Did you see anything else that would suggest an active psychophilic gaze from an audience?
Well, yes, certainly. Films like Blue Velvet represent a powerful mediation on the relationship between cinematic spectatorship and compulsive looking.
Go on.
Also, quite literally, the film Peeping Tom makes you the active holder of the scopophilic gaze through the use of presenting us some of the film through the protagonist's phallic, murderous camera lens as a supposedly objective view on the action. You can't help but identify with the subversive character and themes. You are the camera, the perpetrator, and not just the voyeur.
I wonder what his childhood was like.
That's not quite what I'm getting at.
Well, it sounds very much like the appeal comes from the danger of gazing. Often, people don't want those parts of themselves touched, but are still compelled by the morbid urge to gaze. It happens everywhere, not just in cinema.
Yes, of course. But specifically in cinema, we can apply ideas of scopophilia and the gaze in seeing how, for characters and audiences alike, if the voyeuristic gaze goes too far, it can produce obsessive characters and peeping toms, whose only satisfaction can come from watching, in an active sense, an objectified other.
Well, voyeurism certainly does have associations with sadism and the more sinister voyeurism. I'm sure that's clear in films too. I would think sadicide would fit well into that narrative.
Yes, we're getting somewhere. It's as if there are two categories of pleasurable looking. The scopophilic stimulation of the gaze in objectifying the image on screen, and then the narcissism of active scopophilia, and in identifying yourself with the character on screen.
It all links back to Lacan's constitution of the ego. Maybe if you can identify yourself with the more incendiary content in films, then you have the problem.
So, if I separate myself from the film, and I'm sure to just enjoy the pleasure of the visuals, I'll be fine?
It would seem that way.
Oh, wonderful! This has been brilliant. I feel enlightened, inspired. My gaze is controlled.
Well, I'm not sure the same could be said for me with you wearing those raw, exciting trousers.